Fielding. This is Fielding's my wonderful rider. This is Damiro. Let's talk a little bit about Dom first. Well, first I'll tell you what we're doing today is Dom has been trained through the 4th level pre-St. George movements. He's only competed through 3rd level. This is a dressage horse. This is a dressage horse extraordinaire. This is what we breed the dressage horses to be like. So this is many decades of breeding. Creates this amazing specimen of a dressage horse. He's built for it. He has the right mind for it. He's posing. He's a beautiful poser. He loves to pose. Ears are always up. He's a Dutch Warmbloods. There's a bunch of different kinds of Warmbloods, tons of them. I don't even know how many, but there are lots of different Warmbloods. There's especially a lot of German Warmbloods. This boy's a Dutch Warmblood, so they were bred in Holland. Holland is known for their Dutch Warmbloods and their Friesians, the big black ones with all the hair on their legs that move with all that knee action. You often see them in the old-fashioned movies, the older movies, pulling carriages. Very fancy horses, Friesians. So that's what Holland is known for, are the Friesians and the Dutch Warmbloods. The Dutch Warmbloods do really well in competition. Really nice horses. This boy's super tall. He is 17.2, so he's super tall. He is 13 years old, so isn't in geriatric mode yet. He looks the way that a horse should look when it's well conditioned. You know, he's not conditioned for the event world, but he's well conditioned. They should be shiny like this, glossy from the inside out. His weight is really good. The amount of muscle is really good for what we need. Very nice boy. I boot my guys up in front. You'll see on the products I recommend and why, the Dover boots. I love them. The bell boots I only put on the horses if they need them. This boy's owner said that he does need bell boots, and so we do use bell boots on him. There's a bunch of different kinds of bell boots. Smokey, the sale horse, the Percheron quarter horse, sale horse, the one that I did the parts of the horse on, that I used for a model for parts of the horse, he also needs bell boots. He will overstep. So the bell boots are if they overstep with their hind foot and catch the back of their front foot, the bulbs of the heel on the front foot, or if they're banging their feet together this way. You need the bell boots. Very nice dressage saddle on this boy. It's customized to him. I'll talk about saddle fit in another segment. Typical dressage bridle. He's wearing a German training snaffle with a loose ring. This is very traditional for the dressage horses. This is what I use for most of the dressage horses. And just a cavesson. I think I talked about this before. This particular cavesson is what's called a crank. Noseband, I would prefer it not to be a crank. Just don't tighten it up so much. But if you have the choice to buy a regular cavesson or a crank, I prefer the regular cavessons. The crank have a lot of extra leather that you really don't need. A lot of extra moving parts that you really don't need. And we never crank our horses' mouths closed anymore. I don't know if anyone does. That was all the rage for a while, was really cranking their mouths closed. I hope nobody does that anymore. It's out of favor. I never did it. So, you know, snug enough that it reminds the horses to keep their mouths closed. With these cavessons, they don't really do much. Snug enough that it doesn't bounce on him, but not so snug that we're trying to keep his mouth closed. far as introduction is concerned, Fielding is a marvelous rider. She's been with me for
A little over a year.
about a year. She rides all my dressage horses, and she's learning how to be a really marvelous dressage rider, coming from the hunter-jumper background. But an amazing rider, an amazing horsewoman, an amazing individual. So it's my privilege to be able to work with Fielding and to be plugging the dressage stuff onto Fielding as a rider. This horse is a treat. He's a pleasure and he's a privilege. The amazing thing about Dom is that usually when they get to these upper levels, they get complicated to ride. They become less straightforward to ride. As you give them more bells and whistles, more movements, they tend to get a little bit more difficult to ride because they've got so much criteria to work with. And this boy is what we call user-friendly. He's very straightforward. I call him adult amateur friendly, junior rider friendly. He's really generous in his spirit. He wants to perform for the rider. He's not resistant, and he's really, really good about teaching Fielding the movements. Because if you ask him to do the movement properly, if you ask him properly with your aids, he's going to give you the movement willingly, which is pretty marvelous. It's pretty exceptional. He's a pretty exceptional horse. I forgot to say, I think that he was imported as well. He was also imported. Okay, so this is what we're going to do today, now that we've done all of that fun introduction. We're just going to run through the movements. You guys are going to see me with my dressage hat on. Now you know that I'm coming from the eventing and the dressage background. I've trained dressage up through Grand Prix many, many years, 40 years now. I have my silver medal. I've brought a lot of horses up and through the levels of dressage. We've got lots of Horse of the Year awards, all that fun stuff. So I've been doing this a long time, but with the sale horses, often they're not dressage horses. They might be rescue horses or trail horses or reiners or eventers. And so it's really fun for us to be able to work with an upper level dressage horse.